In-game statistics.
What you looking at, eh?
2 programs, 2 levels, 1 system, and this month,
Everything starts.
Welcome to 3 over 2 Hoops. I'm Coach Jessica DeLiba.
I'm Coach Bob Belf, and we would like to introduce you to the system.
Welcome back to 3 over 2 Hoops. I'm Coach Jessica DeLiba.
And I'm Coach Bob Belf. We wanted to talk in this one, a real definitive, I guess, basically at this point, as to what numbers are important, what things are we looking at, where are we going during a game, during maybe the season, during overall, as to what really sticks out to us and are important numbers to look at.
Mm-hmm. Definitely different statistics, because in college you have some schools give you stats every quarter, every timeout.
There was
we
one,
experienced that.
at the 5-minute timeout, we were getting stats of that one game.
I know.
I had a pile of papers, like I had a full tree sitting there at the end.
Or it's at halftime, but at the high school level, for example, we don't get any stats other than whatever the book person is, and they can't even keep up at this point with our games.
So at the high school level, it is important to have somebody keeping the stats that you find important, that you are looking for. And in my eyes, okay, that starts with, we want to know how many offensive rebounds we've gotten in the half. I need to know, and we try to do it during the game as well, but at halftime is a definitive number, but I want to know how many offensive rebounds we've had and where they're coming from. It could be one group that's doing well. It could be a kid that all of a sudden missed 8 shots in a row, got 7 of her own rebounds, pad her own stats. So to me, that's a very important one. I think from another standpoint, I need to get a gauge as to how the press is going, how many turnovers we've created, and then if you can, how many points we scored off those turnovers, because we'd like to have those turnovers be live turnovers. We'll take them. It gets us the basketball, but we want to know where we're going with that. So our offense, we need to be able that part of our offense is working.
I think the biggest thing, though, before you keep going, is we need to separate what we're looking at during the game and then also what we're looking at halftime and then at the end of the game. So based on what you've mentioned, right, because you're asking, as your assistant, you're asking me certain things, for example, at halftime. So what are the questions that you're asking your assistant at halftime?
Well, those are the first 2 right there. I want to know how many offensive rebounds we've had. I want to make sure we're turning people over. I want to know how many turnovers we had. And then based on what I'm trying to look at certain numbers, I'll look at how many baskets we have, how many three-pointers we have, and how many free throws we have, trying to reach a balance between the 3. But another figure that I think you should be taking at the high school level are deflections. I think deflections is a very good key, is just intercepting balls and all. If you're too anxious, if all of a sudden you're too aggressive in the press, very handsy, then of course fouls matter.
Yep. And
we really want to be good at pressing without fouling, or at the back of the press, challenging without fouling. That to me, right now, for us is a weakness. We're not very good at the back of the press. We're getting better, but we're not challenging well. So those are important figures. Obviously, are we getting the basketball to the right people?
So who's taking how many shots? Is there somebody that's overshooting or one of your shooters that's not shooting?
Within each group, the ideal would to say, I know how many shots each person's going to get. That would be unbelievable, actually, because I don't know if it goes on defense. If all of a sudden the kid's not getting guarded and you can find her and she's hitting shots, that helps. But it's still, in a basic sense, I'm still looking for my primary scorer and my best players to be the drivers of that shift. And so we should be able to have a good indication there. Now, there are nights where all of a sudden your best scorer doesn't score at all. Mm-hmm. And so what is that shift doing to compensate, and how are they working it? So those are type of things you want to know. We used to keep a plus minus when I was at Grinnell, and I'd not say that that's a bad thing to keep, but I always thought that 2 or 3 kids in a group could benefit from playing with your best player. All of a sudden they're positive because your best player's out there leading the nation in scoring, and they're like riding his coattails. But I do think sometimes it can give you a good idea if the 5 that went on the floor are positive or negative, because we don't want to walk out of there 0 and 9. I mean, 9 O's against us because they went out on the floor and turned it over. But I think those stick out during the game way too much. Like all of a sudden, if you do that, you come out of there and it's you gave up 3 or 4 buckets because we didn't work. We certainly have something to talk about real fast in that group.
Yeah. And would you say you're asking similar questions at the end of a game?
For me, yes. But I think it can change. I think sometimes halftime is an easier mark as to where we are because we're playing full pace, full all the time. You get to the end of the game and maybe the situation changes in how you subbed, your best 5 are on the floor to finish the game, slowed the game down, or maybe all of a sudden we're pressing more, we're fouling more. So all of a sudden some of those numbers get skewed for the last 5 to 7 minutes of the game. And so it's not always a great indication of what we did. We still want to make sure that we're getting our prerequisite number of shots. We don't want it 2 tips and all of a sudden, you just said this the other day we were talking, is a team played you zone, so you found yourself taking 75% of your shots or more were threes.
Yeah.
Well, we hit 26 last year in a game because the team played zone, and it was like, we checked the wind and shot the ball. So
sometimes it's game based.
Right.
I think the biggest thing for me at the high school level is because we don't get, I don't have somebody on staff. Oh, that's a great idea for next year. Hire someone to take, like in the G League, they got stat people going right away.
This is helping her as well for next year. Our own podcast is helping you.
Right. But basically, like, I take a look at everything after the game. We send our film to Huddle. Huddle assists, does everything for us. Now, does Huddle do a perfect job? I think every coach out there in the country knows that there are a lot of issues. So I personally go through all of my games after and fix a lot of the stats. I think the biggest issue that I find within stats is substitution. Huddle assist has a very hard time who subbed in, who subbed out, because sometimes obviously the camera angle, you can't see everything, or depending where your camera is, you can't see the numbers on the back. But I like to personally go in and fix everything. Yes, I spend an hour dissecting and going through the film, but I think, one, for recognition purposes, it helps my players, those that want to move on to play college. I think it's important to keep statistics. But I also then, I am learning throughout the game some things that I didn't see because I am dissecting the data. Now, if you have an assistant coach that would love to do that, let me know. We will be hiring at Birmingham Groves. But I'll let you get to your point.
You talked about Huddle Assist, sorry. Yes. We have the girl that tore her ACL at the beginning of the year, and she hasn't dressed for anything. She's played in 2 games according to Huddle Assist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she hasn't scored yet, though.
That's funny. But basically, it's like I am taking the data at the end, and then I'm bringing it into practice the next day. Like ladies, what do you think that you guys did in this game? And I feel like as you do this more, you are going to get a feel for, we're shooting too many threes. Like, I think the coaches will realize it first. It was actually a week ago, I took my girls back into the classroom, put stuff on the board, put our goals on the board, what we're looking for, our 5 goals, and I asked them, I said, which games do you guys think that we've hit our numbers, and which ones do you think we haven't? Which game do you think we shot too much? Which game? What's funny is, like, I thought that they didn't remember our 5 goals. They nailed all our 5 goals completely. But it makes you think, okay, so if you guys know them, then why are we shooting so many threes? Why? And I think that's the perception of everybody else. They think, oh, they only shoot threes. Like, it's not actually what we're trying to do here. There's a crazy mathematical formula system to this.
It's funny, as you're talking right there, because things are going well, you're going through your analytics and you're going through things as how you can get better. As things are not going well with us, I have deviated away from that is in really
Interesting.
focusing on the effort side of it and really focusing on us creating shots. Like, I haven't gotten too depth in the numbers. I even took, like, when we do stuff on social media, I've gotten away from who scored this and how many this, and because it started to breed a little bit of selfishness. And if you're not winning, that could be real fast. Like, I need to keep them team-oriented, effort-oriented, trust-oriented, playing with each other. And when the numbers got in the way, it seemed to bother us. I mean, I know them, but at the same time, not sharing as much as I'm sure that they're going online and looking them up. My leading scorer knows how many points she's had, etc. But I don't know if I need to share it to all the players to keep the cohesiveness going as things are not going well.
Understood, yes. But then, because we're at a junior college, you also run this difficult line. Like, yes, there's girls that don't want to play basketball after this, but there are girls that are trying to play after. So it's like you're tiptoeing a fine line of, is this beneficial to our team? What's more important at this point? And there
Right.
was a moment in time that we felt that,
Absolutely.
you know,
It's just funny because I've kind of gone the other way with
That's-
that. And I guess that's just a personal feel of my own team. But there are some teams that can handle that without any problem. And I think there's times, this is a whole nother story. There are times you can be very honest with your team, and there are other times you have to be a Lou Holtz and tell them that all of a sudden Navy's the best football team you've ever seen in your life, and even though you're going to go out there and beat them 66-0, I think, there sometimes you can tell them,
Well,
and sometimes you can't.
I will say for us at the high school level, we played a team and it was such an ugly game, and we got the win. And I said to the team, we didn't even go in the locker room after. I just brought them together right near the bench. I was like, guys, it was horrible. It was so ugly, and they all knew it too. They owned up to it. And I said, but you know what? We got the win. I know we didn't rotate. We didn't shoot the right number of shots. We shot 11% from the three. That obviously I saw the stats after. I mean, it was, looking at the system, we did a poor job of doing the system, right? But you know what? We got the win. We pulled it out, and it's about going back to what we're supposed to do. I like stats. I like numbers. I've always liked that stuff, and I find it interesting to kind of dissect and see and go to Coach A's original formula of success. I think it's fascinating to me, this whole thing.
You can do trips up the floor, then you're an amazing statistician.
So speaking of shifts and running up and down the floor, pivoting into the number of shifts and the time of shifts in the game.
I think as we're talking about getting numbers and talking about certain things working, plus minus, all that stuff, one thing we don't want to really address, and everybody else sitting in the stands has their opinion of this, is how long should each shift be, and when do you need to sub? You can do it. You can do it by the book and just say, look, all right, here's where we're going to go. We tend to start the game at 40 seconds, sending someone to the table, and then we back it down to 35 seconds, and by the end of the game we're at 30 seconds. Because we're trying to keep people moving, and at the end, we're fatigued as much as they are. It's critical that they understand to get off the floor. We've struggled with that with one of our point guards, is she lets her shifts go too long. Your number of shifts, well, based on, in our case, 20 minutes of a half, I probably should be looking at 22 to 24 shifts in a half. If I can't get over 18, then I'm letting them go too long. I need to get there. But now you also have the little things, the little nuances. Like, I would love to always sub into an offensive situation for a group. That would be ideal. Like, put them on the floor, you get the ball. It doesn't always work that way because the whistle goes at times where all of a sudden they're coming on to play defense. So do you let the group on the floor go defensively one more possession? Or does that net them another offensive possession? And then does that take you 30 seconds to get them back off the floor and now we're way too long? If it's a free throw situation, do you have your or you're sideline out of bounds, or even out of bounds, do you have your best offensive players on the floor, and do you want to let them stay? Get him another possession. He's leading us.
I will say I'm very big on it's the end of the quarter. If, let's say, I had my first shift, my starters in, I have noticed, because I always, as the assistant, before the quarter, I ask, do you want me to go to the next shift, or do you want to go back to starters, or do you want to keep the same group that's in? He is big on just continuing the process through. I have been choosing to go back to my starters at the beginning of the quarter, because I find it's better for them to use that timeout or that quarter break as the break, and then they go back out there. But I think that's a personal preference.
Absolutely, but it also tells me that you might have set your starters with better players.
Potentially.
Okay. I don't think any group is better than any other group, so I just tend to keep going. Mm-hmm. I know that when we did media timeouts at Grinnell, we went 5 groups, but if the 5th group didn't get through their shift and we had a media timeout, we came back to Group A, right there. I went 2 games ago, I did 5 shifts in the first half, I went to 3 shifts in the second half, and I went to AB in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
And none of them worked, so it didn't matter. That's not true.
It was all right. I've been sticking with 3 shifts. There was a conversation that I haven't gone AB yet. That's something that I do want to try out this month. Go a little bit of AB just to see how that flows. I did create an AB. I definitely have my finishing group. I think that's important to make sure you have your finishing group. And actually, that gave me a great idea for a next episode, is finishing a basketball game. If that's something that you guys would want to, find out about. And by the way, since you're watching, make sure you like and subscribe. But I think that's a whole nother episode, just how to finish a game, who you're looking to keep in there, what you're looking to do. Do you change things?
Change a lot of things, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think from the shift standpoint, how you construct them also is going to tell you how you want to utilize them. If you have a shift out there isn't quite up to snuff or doesn't play well that day, they might get a little less time. See ya, you're off.
Yeah.
If they piss you off.
That too.
Yeah. All it takes is one kid in a shift to not participate, and that shift is just blown up.
And I will add, at the high school level, I have been getting critiqued let me change that. I've been getting critiqued on, let's just call a spade a spade. I've been getting critiqued on having my best player out at the end of the game. I have been shifting her in and out of the game for the entire 32 minutes. We cannot sustain and keep doing what we're doing if I am just playing my 5 girls that are the last on the bench. But it's amazing to me, just because they know that she's the best player, it's frustrating because I am subbing her out every 35 to 45 seconds. So it's just, I'm getting frustrated with that aspect, that I am still doing what I'm supposed to be doing with the shifting, and it's getting backlash at the high school level. Of course, we don't see that in junior college, but...
Not very often, no. The only backlash I had was if she's going to put her back out on the floor in a situation where she might get hurt. That's the only time I would...
When you coached high school, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Like if my best player is out there and the other team is so frustrated that they're just going to take a swing at her or trip her, I'm not putting her back out. But in the sense of what you're doing, yeah, she's not... You got 32 minutes. She's playing 22 to 23.
Yeah. Like if anyone looks at her minute statistics, she's literally not playing 32 minutes a game.
I had
averaging 34 points. So
I had 2 people in the office one time. I brought 2 JV kids up because we had a bunch of kids sick. So I brought 2 JV kids up, and the one lady's like, I think it's so great that you got those kids in the game. And I'm thinking, they played in the first 3 minutes of the game. They played a normal shift the whole night.
That's so funny.
In everybody's mind, you play right at the end. In everybody's mind, our shifts are 2 minutes long.
Yeah. In the last game we played, first time, Coach subbed 5 in with us, 5 in, 5 out. But what was interesting after going back and watching the game, he subbed, there were moments that he subbed with us at the same time I'm subbed, but he actually subbed the opposite time. So like he would sub and then I would sub. So I don't know if that was, he was keeping his own internal clock. I'll have to ask him if I ever run into him, because that was creative.
Yeah.
But it's kind of cool to see coaches trying different things.
Once you've got a coach altering what he normally does, advantage you.
Yeah.
Because then all of a sudden he has to match what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah. But let's put a bow on it.
Yeah, let's put a bow on this. I think statistically, there are things that are different. We're trying to look at stuff that affects our formula, and is always making sure that we're at the best situation we can to accomplish that. Just because it didn't match all the way down because you finished the game a little differently or you're playing a little slower, that halftime will tend to give you the same thing, or third quarter if you can look that up, which we can at the college level. Right. But yeah, you're still looking at that stat sheet because that's going to be important stuff. It still drives what you're doing. You'll start to see the numbers that don't match up. You're like, whoa, we're not doing this, or turn the ball over too much, or those type of things where it just sticks out. We got to get to the free throw line, that kind of stuff. So I mean, I realize that's not in the formula, but that's still part of controlling the game, going the way you want. Right. So the numbers are an important addition to what you're trying to accomplish.
For sure. So with that, if you're not subscribed already, what are you even doing? Okay, make sure you like and subscribe.
What are you looking at?
Right, what are you looking at? So please follow us and write your questions to us. We've been getting some really nice messages on Instagram, few messages through YouTube, so we really appreciate it. Glad this is getting out there to different parts of the country, and we're an open book, so for the most part.
We've reached out to some people for some interviews, so that's going to be one of our next things.
Stay tuned. We're going to get some more people in here, and we're looking forward to all of it. So like and subscribe and follow us for more.